constante is a comedia by Calderón de la Barca, composed around 1628. It is based on the attempt by Portuguese royalty in 1437 to conquer the city of Tangier in present-day Morocco. This was an effort to expand the 1415 conquest of Ceuta. The work is based on this particular confrontation between Portuguese and Muslim rulers. In this play, as in history, the charge on Tangier is led by two Portuguese princes, Enrique and his younger brother, Fernando. This attack ends in failure for the Portuguese, and Fernando remains in Africa as a bargaining chip for the Muslim king of Fez, who hopes to recover Ceuta. When Fernando refuses to be exchanged for Ceuta, the king of Fez enslaves him, leading to his eventual death. At a basic level, this literary work is centered on the thoughts and consequent actions of Fernando, the protagonist, and their contrast with those of his brothers. A broader focus of the play is that of the warfare between Christian and non-Christian kingdoms and the Christian motivations behind them. I intend to briefly cover the teachings on just war as outlined by Francisco de Vitoria and Francisco Suarez. I will then analyze and compare the development of the character of Fernando with that of his brothers, in conjunction with the battles, their attitudes concerning these battles with the Muslims. In the end, I hope to demonstrate that in this work, Calderón emphasizes that just war must first be won in the heart. Concerning the historical period depicted in El Príncipe Constante, the conquest of Ceuta marked the initiation of a period of expansion for Portugal, whose empire by 1571 would reach as far as Nagasaki on its eastern front. British historian J.H. Elliott states that Castile, like Portugal, and I quote, was inspired by the crusading tradition, and the occupation of Ceuta in 1415 was in itself conceived as part of a crusade which might one day encircle the earth and take Islam on the rear. This expansion was also in great part a search for a trade route to the east by the Portuguese kingdom. The Christian-Muslim conflict of El Príncipe Constante presents religious as well as territorial elements. However, in this play, the vision of conquest for religious purposes is only eminent in the Portuguese royalty. The king of Fez and his Muslim ally Calderón, king of Morocco, desire to recover Ceuta, conquered by the Portuguese, and then to expand their territory into Spain. However, there is no emphasis on the implantation of Islam in the conquest. On the opposing side, the Portuguese King Eduardo and his brothers Enrique and Fernando pretend to expand both their territory and their faith. Focus is placed on expansion of faith, unlike with the Muslims. A central element in the interpretation of El Príncipe Constante is the concept of just war. The Dominican Francisco de Vitoria, founder of the so-called School of Salamanca, contributed much to the study of warfare. The writings on the same topic by the prominent Jesuit scholar Francisco Suarez, known as one of the early students of international law, is of equal importance. It is widely assumed that Jesuits such as his contemporary Francisco Suarez had a great influence on the philosophy of the author of this play, Calderón de la Barca, especially due to the fact that he went through years of education under the Jesuits. Although Vitoria's lecture on the law of war from 1539 was a continuation of that on the American Indians, its principles can be applied to the studied work, which is based on early conquests in Africa. In question 1, Article 3 of his lecture on the law of war, Francisco de Vitoria names 5 possible motivations for the initiation of war. Of these, the first 3 are unacceptable: difference of religion, enlargement of empire, and the personal glory, feelings of the prince. These seem to be in large part the motivation of the Portuguese in this play to conquer Tangier, albeit under religious cover. The fourth motivation is the only one that is acceptable, and I quote, "The sole and only just cause for waging war is when harm has been inflicted," end of quote. The fifth statement of Vitoria indicates that trivial offenses don't justify war. Suarez's principles on just war can be found in his lectures on charity. In Disputation 13, Section 5, the unjustified motivations for war are listed are unbelief on the part of the enemy, injuries brought to God through sins against nature or through idolatry, a belief in the supreme temporal dominion of Christians over unbelievers, and the belief that unbelievers are incapable of governing themselves. These, according to Suarez, are not causes for just war. Suarez affirms that, and I quote, "A Christian prince may not declare war save either by reason of some injury inflicted or for the defense of the innocent," end of quote. Suarez's first motivation for just war is the same as the only just motivation proposed by Vitoria: war in response to injury inflicted. The second justification for the initiation of war, that is, the defense of the innocent, is Suarez alone. Under these standards, the Portuguese motivations for carrying out their attack on Tangier are ambiguous. At the beginning of the play, their supposed motivation of extending the faith, though apparently righteous, seems to correspond to one of the unjustified motivations listed by both Vitoria and Suarez. That is, a difference of religion, Vitoria, or unbelief of the enemy, Suarez. The posture of the Muslim king of Fez in the first conflict appears justifiable under the teachings of these theologians/philosophers. From a neutral viewpoint, the motivations of the Muslim king are more just than those of the Portuguese monarch. Granted, before appearance on stage of the Portuguese, the Moorish general Muley states to the king of Fez that Ceuta, and I quote, "El paso a España estorba,"